Behind the glittering curtain of Golden Age Hollywood, where charm, elegance, and impossible perfection ruled the screen, a quiet secret wove its way through the dressing rooms of Tinseltown's greatest men. Underneath the perfect pomades, slick styles, and dazzling spotlight-ready hairlines, many of the most adored stars of the era hid the same imperfection: baldness. It wasn't vanity alone, it was survival. In a world where studios owned your image, a receding hairline could mean the end of a career. Behind every dashing hero or suave leading man was a delicate construction of artistry, illusion, and wig glue, the unsung saviors of Hollywood's golden years. Let's pull back the curtain on 15 of these icons who built their legacies not only on talent, but on a secret hidden just above their brows, that if this kind of story touches your heart, if you're someone who cares about truth, responsibility, and speaking up for the voiceless, please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and share it with someone who should hear it. Let's get started. 1. Humphrey Bogart. To millions, Humphrey Bogart was the ultimate symbol of tough guy sophistication. The raspy voice, the trench coat, the effortless charisma. Bogey was Hollywood cool, yet behind his fedora lay a truth he guarded fiercely. By his early 30s, Bogart's hair had begun to thin rapidly, a result of genetics and relentless studio stress. His signature hat wasn't just style, it was camouflage. He relied on partial hairpieces, meticulously crafted to match his rough-edged appeal. Close friends often joked that Bogey's hair took longer to prepare than his lines. But even without the illusion, he exuded power, because what audiences loved wasn't his hairline, but the confidence that never wavered beneath it. 2. Fred Astaire. Few men in history made motion look as effortless as Fred Astaire. His grace defined an era. Yet, while his feet defied gravity, time was less kind to his scalp. By the late 1930s, Astaire's thinning crown had become a backstage secret. Ever the perfectionist, he insisted his wigs be as precise as his choreography. His hairpieces were lightweight, breathable, and designed to stay put through hours of energetic dance routines. One of his longtime stylists once quipped, his hairpieces danced as much as he did. Astaire never publicly addressed his baldness, but those who knew him said he treated it like choreography, part of the illusion and part of the art. 3. Yul Brynner. While most stars hid their hair loss, Yul Brynner turned it into a weapon of power. His shaved head became a global symbol of dominance, mystery, and modern masculinity. When he first appeared bald in The King and I, it was out of necessity. He had lost most of his hair by his late 20s. But audiences adored the look, and Brynner made it his signature. Ironically, earlier in his career, he'd been terrified that baldness would end his chances in Hollywood. Instead, it made him immortal. He once joked, "If I ever grow hair again, no one will recognize me." His story stands out among the others, proof that sometimes what seems like a flaw can become a legacy. 4. Sean Connery. Before he became the suave secret agent who defined cool, Sean Connery faced a private battle with hair loss that began in his early 20s. By the time he stepped into the role of James Bond, he was already nearly bald. But in true 007 fashion, Connery had a plan. Each Bond film featured specially designed toupees made by London's top wigmakers. The hairpieces were perfectly blended to suit his rugged charm and strong jawline. Yet off-screen, he often ditched them completely, embracing his baldness in private. In later interviews, Connery admitted, "The wig was part of the costume, James Bond wore it. I didn't." His honesty only made fans respect him more. 5. Frank Sinatra. Blue Eyes had it all, the voice, the charm, the swagger. But he also had a secret he kept under his trademark fedora. Sinatra began losing his hair in his early 30s, and though he joked about it later, it deeply bothered him at first. His solution? An entire collection of wigs, each suited to different occasions, stage performances, public appearances, even casual outings. His longtime barber once revealed that Sinatra treated his hairpieces like prized possessions, stored in velvet boxes with military precision. Eventually, Sinatra became so comfortable with his baldness that he'd tease reporters about it. When asked about his secret, he famously quipped, I don't wear a rug. I wear confidence. 6. Burt Reynolds. Burt Reynolds, the ultimate symbol of 1970s masculinity, built a career on raw confidence and that unmistakable dark mane. But by the time his fame exploded, he was already relying heavily on toupees. His wigs became part of his signature look, custom-made, heat-resistant, and durable enough for action scenes and stunts. Reynolds' friends often said he treated his hairpieces as casually as sunglasses, an accessory to match his mood. When he finally spoke about it years later, Reynolds shrugged. Who cares? The fans weren't watching my hair. They were watching me. And he was right. He proved that charisma could outshine even the most fragile secret. 7. Cary Grant. To the world, Cary Grant embodied sophistication, the accent, the tuxedo, the effortless poise. But even he wasn't immune to time's quiet theft. By his 40s, Grant's temples had begun to thin, and he relied on subtle pieces to maintain his trademark silhouette. He insisted on natural-looking wigs, lightweight and minimal, designed to blend perfectly under studio lighting. The illusion was flawless. Few ever suspected. Grant's perfectionism wasn't vanity. It was part of his devotion to maintaining a consistent image that audiences adored. Privately, though, he found humor in it. He once quipped to a friend, "If I ever lose my hair completely, I'll just tell the camera to focus higher." 8. John Wayne. John Wayne was the embodiment of rugged American masculinity, towering, fearless, and untouchable. Yet by the late 1940s, the Duke was quietly fighting his own battle with baldness. His wigs were a closely guarded studio secret. They were designed to match his outdoor cowboy aesthetic, durable enough for desert shoots and horseback chases. Makeup artists often said his wig maintenance took longer than his entire costume fitting. Despite the illusion, Wayne's appeal never came from his hair. His gravelly voice, towering presence, and natural authority ensured that even if audiences had known, they wouldn't have cared. He was larger than the myth, hair or not. 9. Clark Gable. Known as the King of Hollywood, Clark Gable's charm was legendary. But even kings have vulnerabilities. By his mid-30s, Gable's hair had thinned considerably. To preserve his romantic leading man persona, MGM arranged custom hairpieces for every major film he made. The secret was tightly controlled. Barbers signed confidentiality agreements, and stylists were warned never to mention it publicly. Still, Gable's natural magnetism carried him through. His fans weren't captivated by the hair. They were mesmerized by the smirk, the confidence, the voice that made hearts melt. In the end, the illusion worked, not because of what it hid, but because of the man who wore it. 10. Danny Kaye. Danny Kaye's brilliance was his versatility, a comedian, singer, and actor who lit up every frame. What audiences didn't see was the insecurity he carried about his thinning hair. By the 1950s, his hairpieces had become part of his professional toolkit. He approached the issue with humor, often joking with crew members about borrowing his hair for a scene. But beneath the laughter was an understanding that appearance mattered in Hollywood's rigid system. Kaye turned his vulnerability into relatability, using humor to connect with fans and colleagues alike. 11. Bing Crosby. With his smooth voice and easy charm, Bing Crosby seemed like the definition of confidence. Yet, even he relied on discreet hairpieces to maintain his wholesome image. Crosby began wearing partial wigs during his radio years, long before film cameras magnified every flaw. His pieces were subtle, often designed to blend into his natural hairline rather than cover it completely. It wasn't about hiding, it was about presentation. Friends often said that Crosby's calm demeanor came from his understanding of show business. Everything's an illusion, kid, even the hair. 12. Laurence Olivier. Laurence Olivier was a perfectionist in every sense. His wigs weren't just accessories. They were instruments of transformation. For each role, Olivier insisted on a uniquely crafted piece, from Hamlet to Henry V. But privately, he wore one daily to cover his receding hairline. He saw wigs as part of his art, not vanity. To Olivier, they allowed him to disappear into any character, noble, villainous, or tragic. His approach was so refined that his personal hairpieces became collectors' items, each one meticulously labeled and stored. Olivier didn't hide from baldness. He turned it into an extension of performance itself. 13. Telly Savalas. Unlike many of his peers, Telly Savalas didn't hide behind a wig, at least not forever. Early in his career, he tried to maintain a full-head illusion for the sake of roles. But when he shaved his head for the greatest story ever told, audiences loved it. The look became his brand. His smooth scalp and deep voice turned him into an icon of confidence. Kojak wouldn't have been Kojak without that polished dome. Savalas proved that authenticity could become its own form of glamour. 14. Tony Curtis. Tony Curtis was the heartthrob of the 1950s, smooth, stylish, and effortlessly cool. But his vanity was no secret. When his hair began thinning in his 40s, he panicked, turning to custom wigs and carefully styled pieces to maintain his matinee idol look. He often treated them like fashion, different styles for different moods. In interviews, Curtis brushed off questions about aging, saying, "The trick isn't staying young. It's staying interesting." His playful attitude kept fans charmed, even when the illusion slipped. 15. Marlon Brando. Brando's early career showcased a thick, rebellious mane, but by the late 1960s that image had begun to fade. As his hair thinned, he experimented with wigs for roles, particularly in The Godfather and Superman. Unlike others, Brando viewed the transformation as part of his craft, an actor's ability to become anyone. His wigs were often integral to the characters he portrayed, helping him shift from the passionate Stanley Kowalski to the aged Don Corleone. Brando never feared the truth behind the illusion. To him, every wig was just another mask in the theater of human experience.